Are you recording the session, by the way, isn't it?
Sergio, registriamo, sì? Yes, we're going to record the session. We can start.
Okay, give me a second. Good. One second, please.
You can start, Jorge.
Yes, I need to open the agenda so I remember the title. Okay. Right, so I would like to welcome everybody to this first RUC-APS session of the day. Today we have Arturo Caponero and Emanuele Scalcione from the Lucana Agency for Development and Innovation in Agriculture from Italy. Their topic is going to be water and pest management in uncertain climate in agriculture. Arturo and Emanuele, they have been implemented several secondments for the project, so they're going to show us some of their results and some of their experiences based on their secondments in real practice. So Arturo, Emanuele, whenever you want, you can start.
Okay, I start.
Are you sharing your screen?
Yeah, share the screen. No. Devi andare su turno.
Su turno.
Ok, share screen.
Giusto? Ok. Solo che forse prima devi lanciare.
Can you see our screen? No, non vi sto vedendo.
No, io devo mettere il coso. La presentazione.
Ma so perché no.
Non bisogna okay. Good morning, everybody. I'm Emanuele Scalcione. This presentation consists in two parts. The first is mine, the second is Arturo. The title is Water in Pest Management in Agriculture under Uncertain Climate. We work in Alsia. Alsia is a public agency of Basilicata region. Basilicata is a little land in southern Italy, annual extension about 10,000 kilometers square. In this picture, we see the different orography of Basilicata. This is very important about our activity because there is an area in particular, which Metapontino, where the agriculture is very intensive, and other area, for example, Bradero Valley. The mission of Alsia are many, but we work in extension service to farmers, and our activity are, for me, our regional agrometeorological service with station network and service for efficiency of use of water in agriculture. But for Arturo, there are pest management and calibration service for spray pesticide sprayers. The impact of uncertain climate on agriculture. The climate change is happening, and it generates new uncertainties, especially on use of water and in pest management. And then the context in our work are the global change. About the global change of in the world are known and available on web. Recently, I found two works of Picareta about the trend of temperature and precipitation in the last 30-40 years, especially in Basilicata. About the temperature, the results are increase of temperature minimum and temperature max in trend, especially in last 30 years. And he estimated the increase of temperature in 1.1 degrees Celsius. And another point is important is the increase of temperature minimum in winter, spring, and in summer. And another point is the increase of temperature max in spring and in summer. About the precipitation, the results are have a higher variability because there are different trends depend on period, the climate period. But in general, there is a degrees of trend of precipitation. But it is very important the analysis on season time, because there is an degrees in autumn and in winter, and increase in spring and summer. This point is very important because in Basilicata there are many artificial lakes, and where water is storage and after used in potability, in agriculture, tourism, in other economic activity of Basilicata and Puglia region. And then is an important an information very important for policy and government of Basilicata. The context of climate change in Basilicata definitely is the increase is the decrease of the annual rainfall, the increase torrential rains, and decrease moderate and heavy precipitation. About the temperature, there is an increase extreme events. The same of in the world, the increase of temperature, especially in the last 30 years, and increase of fresh days in summer and hot days in summer. Another result is our work, because we analyzed the data of last 15 years. We found an advance of reckoning agricultural products, in particular for apricot and peaches. We found an advance in 3 days above. This is the distribution of the agrometeorological station network in Basilicata. And the distribution is not uniform because the Basilicata region have an high variability about altimetry and the use of soil. For example, in this area, Metapontino, Bradano Valley, where is concentrated the, about 70% our station. But in this area, where there are many mountains and hills, the agriculture is not extensive, is not very important, except little area where there is an agriculture, an horticultural agriculture, and in spring or in summer. Then we science we born about 25 years ago and start our activity in 2000, and until now we storage our data in a database and use this data for service in service for farmers. For example, in assistance in agriculture, in efficient use of water in agriculture, in pest management, in produce some weekly or monthly bulletin, and other activity, important activity is the support in experimental and research activity of Basilicata of university in Basilicata region, and monitoring extreme climatic events, which our needs and further developments. Obtain a map of spatialization data, and then use our information in every point of Basilicata, and use that information for our activity and for our in irrigation system and EPM. Another sector of important activity is the precision farming, for example, or a study of the effect of the global change in on Mediterranean crop. Then we went in Liverpool in last September, our secondment. We knew Cyril Cameron, and this is the occasion to thank Cyril for his an important and a hard work about our data and produce some map of spatialization data, because we specialized weather station of Basilicata region, and with our data, our database available on web. We found this database, the database EODS Climate, available in at this link, and we use Metroland spatialization in R script, and the data input were daily data of temperature, minimum, medium, max, precipitation daily, and humidity of air, medium, minimum, and max. Our data was specialized over the grid available in this link at the domain of the Basilicata. In reference C, we found and work made in Catalonia by NASA to produce a data set of agrometeorological application, and we use this method because there are this is the same our objective, our main our goal, because the data input and the data output are the same. For example, after validation, our database, our database for period 2000 until 2018 time, we validation between previous data for season time, and and after we calculated on monthly time. After the results, we obtained the results. We obtained a good information, in part a good information, because the spatial resolution, probably because the spatial resolution of the EBS data is quite coarse and makes the analysis of regional climate statistics complicated. And secondly, because Basilicata region is a little land, but there is a good information about seasonal means for rainfall and temperature. After we see some picture where there is a good information about there are some this picture we see the map on seasonal time with on the left there is our data on RUC-APS data, and on the right on use EOBS data. But there is a specialization that information that map are not good for us because that information is good for statistical and statistical study if it monthly time or season time. But we analyze and we see the data in the red line. There is RUC-APS data, but in black there is the EBS data. We see a good match about season standard deviation. And this an important information, and this encourage our work. Then our in the next step, our goal in next time. Adaptation, the script of the air, and to produce the virtual station in every point of Basilicata region, and then use the information for in every point of Basilicata, and use and have and obtain a large use of this information. After step is a validation of RUC-APS data with other external climate data set. For example, now is available data about in the Copernicus project or ESA, and then choose the best output format for the Alsia web system. Now I'm finished, and now it's your time.
Okay. Hello, everyone. The second part of this speech, I will try to talk about my field in Alsia, that is integrated pest management, the management of this service, and the state of art in our region about pest control and our activities in RUC-APS project. Our agency is a local agency to develop and to perform innovation for farmers. So in pest management, basically our service are parasite and pathogen diagnosis, identification, pest monitoring in the field, but even the management of forecasting models of some pests, and even experimentation of new techniques and new products, and even technical assistance, stewardship and dissemination, basically for farmers, but even for technicians of farmers' organization or cooperatives. What integrated pest means, because this way to perform, to manage crop protection is basically a concept and a way to act. So the concept, a good definition of integrated pest management was made by the Food and Agriculture Organization, and basically well explain some keywords like concept in integrated pest management. Basically is the careful consideration of all available plant protection methods and the integration of these methods, and not only the use of pesticides, to have good results in crop protection. And the important focus is the sustainability, not only ecological, but even economically, because agriculture is an economical activity. In more simple words, we must use and manage all what you can before using pesticides. This is the meaning. There are 8 basis things, the basis principles on which IPM is based. Prevention, monitoring, informed decision making, the priority to use no chemical methods, selection of pesticide using multifitaria, pesticide reduction, is it possible, and the use of anti-resistance strategy if we need to use, okay. And the last evaluation. On the picture on the right, you can see this process like a circular process. What happened? In the Europe, the priority to preserve environment is rising more and more. The 70th Environment Action Plan is a very important framework about use of pesticides. And at present, the European and our country and our regional legislation and rules and even technical application come from this very important action plan. The action plan focuses 4 priorities. One is climate change, but one is environment and health preservation. And there are 7 thematic strategies, and one is all dedicated to the sustainable use of pesticides. So it's really important for Europe and for a European community. But this is the future, because just tomorrow the European Commission is going to communicate the new biodiversity strategy, so-called safeguarding nature, that is the strategy of our community for the next 10 years. And agriculture and pesticide are heavily interested. In fact, in the joke, we have to see tomorrow what really is right. But what in agriculture is the job say we have to reduce, we have to halve the use of pesticide. We have to reduce of 20% use of fertilizer. We have to increase the organic farm of by 8% in terms of land extension. So it will be more and more hard use pesticides in the traditional way. An important directive, the 128, is a really milestone for people working in the phytosanitary sector. This directive establishes a framework for community in order to use in a sustainable way the pesticides. Sorry. And the important issues of the directive is that integrated pest management is one of the best practice to use in sustainable way pesticides. In fact, this law says from 240, integrated pest management has become mandatory in each farm in each European country. So it's not possible to manage it in other way. We have only two ways to manage pest control: the integrated pest management and organic farming. So about climate change. Climate change, does climate change impact on IPM? Obviously, yes, because as my colleague showed before, climate change is happening at a different scale, even in our little region, and impact all agricultural aspects, and even the pests and the control of pests. These very simple picture show a classical for students of plant pathology interaction between plants and pathogens. Both are live organisms, so they interact between, but they interact even with the environment. That is not only climate, but all the environment. That is even soil, for example, and other conditions. So the impact in interaction of plants and pathogen is maybe bigger than for other aspects in agriculture for climate change. So we need to resolve some questions. For example, will the life cycle of pathogen and pest change? Or what about their aggressiveness and virulence of normal pests in our area? Will arrive new harmful pests in a new area? And what about phenological crops modification? We don't know. We need to modify some standardized procedures. So a lot of questions, and there is a lot of work for analysts and modelists too, if they are interested. My colleagues and I involved in this service like to think globally, but we have to manage to act locally in our region. So what we suppose it will probably happen or is happening in our area about climate change. Some pathogen, some pests, maybe could become more dangerous, and some other maybe became less dangerous. We know that extreme events are happening more frequently. This could injure plants and to become them more susceptible to some pests. What about the climate seasonal variability that is changing? And what about tropicalization, so-called? Our beautiful Mediterranean climate is changing like a little tropical climate. That means more extreme events and higher humidity in the air. That surely impact on the aggressiveness of several fungi, but even some insects we feel. So in the last days, we have to we understand we have to change the approach of pest management, and we have to consider the climate change all over the world, not only in my little region. An interesting review by Ib and colleagues proposed to change the paradigm, the term of IPM, so from IPM toward a new approach, so-called climate smart pest management. It's a bit more complicated than IPM, as you can see in the picture. Basically, the key word is to increase resilience and to enlarge the field of action, not only to the farm and to the farmers, but at the landscape level and with the involvement of different actors, not only farm and technicians, but even researchers, but politicians, etc. So the aim is to well manage pests, but even mitigate greenhouse gas emission and contribute to food providing and food security. And this is, I think, the future in this discipline. If an agronomist need to change their mind and change strategy, fortunately, we could have new tools. But we can use new tools like ICT, DSS, sensor, analytics device, etc. If obviously they are available. First of all, they are robust, they are sure, they are well validated, and even if they are economically sustainable. So, plant protection model and other decision tools have assumed a key role in supporting decision-making process in pest management. Say Rossi and colleagues in a recent, very interesting review about critical factor for the adoption of decision tools in IPM. But decision tools are based on modeling. So we can have good decision tools if people working in modeling try and found good models. This is the only way to have good decision tools. In the last years, a lot of DSS were developed for technicians, but they are basically for techniques, for epidemiology, and for a biological approach. Not more about the work of technicians and the way to form a decisional process. So why we are involved in this very nice, interesting for a technician as me, RUC-APS project, the work package number 6. The title is Innovative Solution for Sustainable Agriculture Production to develop decision support systems. So some months ago, thanks the very strong expertise of Dr. Hernandez and his colleagues, we proposed and we are starting another mini project called multi-criteria decision analysis, with the aim to develop decision support system for integrated pest management. It's quite hard for me to understand. I'm not very used to use statistics and this kind of analysis, but it's really interesting the interaction between these experts for people, especially in other fields like me. I'd like to put your attention in the definition of IPM that I showed you before. The consideration of available plant protection method and subsequent integration of appropriate measures in order to manage pest control that are economically and ecologically justified and reduce or minimize risk for health, for people, for plants, for environment, for animals. The concept is quite easy to understand. It's too hard to apply in the real life, in the field, because we have to consider so many things, criteria, and often these criteria are conflicting one against the other. We have to consider biological aspect, ecological aspect, but even economical, marketing aspect, and the legal, social, and so on. So it's really not easy to understand what is a good or a right technical choice in IPM. So usually we suppose that a good technician or a good farm should be able to make a good decision to manage pests. The problem is that even in technical choice, there are two parts, an objective part and a subjective part. And sometimes the subjective part is not easy to manage and to define. Anyway, in a decisional process, in any scientific or technical matter, same expert should be, we suppose, should share the same decision. So, as proposed by Dr. Hernandez, the MCDM should be a useful way to analyze the decisional process in IPM. And this is the meaning of our mini project. What a multi-criteria decision analysis is, this is the definition in Wikipedia, because maybe a lot of us are experts and don't. The case steps are define objective, define criteria, measure them, weight the criteria, list the option, and rate the option. For further information, ask to Jorge or watch the last very nice presentation. I tried to show the flow chart of our what we should like to do in this mini project. Basically, in this rectangle is my activity and of my colleagues. Identify some key decision, identify for each key decision the key information we need to make this decision, to act, validate, and after transfer to expert for analysis and compare and so on. The final objective is maybe to develop a DSS for IPM technicians. The first step is the survey among only Italian experts in IPM. We create a focus group of experts, and we ask to define, according to the definition, the core business of IPM, the most important key decision and the most essential information. For a farmer, doesn't matter which one, but a crop in open field, not in greenhouse or greenhouse. So the second step could be extend this methodology and the analysis and compare the results in other countries. But we are in the first step. So. A group of 20 Italian experts coming from 11 regions, operated in 11 regions of our 20 Italian regions, worked all together. These 20 experts, 25, come from different fields, but working specifically in IPM. From 30%, you can see on the right, from the university, 25% from the agro-industry, 50% from public administration, but the technical part of public administration, like me. So basically, stewardship or dissemination or technical assistance. And last, 30% consulting that are technicians working on field for farmers or farmers organization. These first preliminary results, we were able to define 3 key decisions in order to reach 3 objectives for farmers. And these 3 key decisions are apply a preventive strategy or a method or a treatment in order to prevent a pest attack, or apply a curative specific strategy to control a pest attack that is already on in field, or just decide to not perform any treatment because the objective is reduce the use of pesticides. Each of key decision needs some key information, some key criteria. We identify 16, 13 plus 3 criteria for farmers, and in the last table you can see treated for each decision. So in a preventive strategy, we don't need some information like, for example, an economic damage thresholds, but we need them for a specific strategy or for no treatment. We need other information. This is the first step of our work nowadays, and we were able to make a questionnaire. And the second step is calibrate each option respect to each others. So, like this. This is just an example, and the X is my opinion. In this way, it's quite easy to compare, in a not numerical way, the importance that a person, an expert, think of a category respect to the other. For example, in this case, is more important prevent a pest attack or control a pest attack? Is more important, in my opinion, prevent a pest attack. But how many important respect the control? Is 3 plus, not 4 or 2, and so on. So we planned to start with this survey during the phytopathological days that had been taken place in in March in Italy, but coronavirus did not. So maybe there was delay, and we don't know. Maybe we have to use a different way, for example, by email. It's a very nice this occasion, the Congress, because usually not less than 500 experts take part in this convention. So it is really a concentrate of experts in a few days to perform this survey. This table shows the quantification of criteria selection. That is the work of experts in MCDM, and basically is to transform the opinion expressed by a simple plus, etc., in a quantification, in a number quantification. In this case, for example, the first important, in my opinion, of objective is to prevent an attack, and so on. So this is the state of art of our work, and the work is in progress. Thanks for attention, and stay safe for COVID. Thank you.
Thank you, Arturo. There was a question in the chat, and it's what does EBOS mean? EBOS. And
yes.
You can reply.
This is a database available online. Yes, there is a link on the presentation.
Okay.
And
what's going on? So, if there are any questions?
Yes, may I ask one, please?
Hello, Chopin.
Hello, Rina. It's very nice to see you three getting back to the meeting room with that beautiful picture hanging behind you.
Yes, with distance, or with we all have the DPI. So we to wear them.
pay attention window.
Yeah, I know. But it's okay.
And thank you for the presentation from Arturo and Emmanuel. Wonderful presentation, very comprehensive, informative. Now, I would like to ask for your expert opinion on pest control and management. Do you know, are there any commercialized or already developed digital tools that are being used in the farming community already for the pest control or management? Of course, we are waiting for your own development from the MCDM tools.
I know different DSS, but usually they help the management at farm level or multi-farms level, for a technician, for example. But in my opinion, I don't know if there are some DSS who could help me to make my decisional process. I can these DSS can help me to reach and manage information, but technical information. For example, is very useful, helpful to know what a previsional model for a pest says about a specific cycle. I can match this information with weather forecast, for example, or a model could do for me, and I can match this other information with the phenological stage of my crop, and so I can consider if the phenological phase is susceptible to the disease, and the weather condition are good enough to spread this infection. This is an example, and it is really useful, even because I can manage different crops and or the same crops in different areas. But I don't know if my personal way to perform my decision is right or not. I should ask another technician. I should able to do my same decision. I know that is very hard if I have a health problem, find 3 doctors with the same opinion. So it's a joke, but maybe it's the same for technicians. And for a doctor, it's easier to have the same opinion because the specialization is just on animal species and maybe on a specific kind of health. For agricultural technicians, is complicated. So the problem is, I would think the truth is my opinion, but is it really objective or not?
Thank
I don't
you.
know if I try to explain my meaning.
Thank you for that. That is very useful. You mentioned the European Commission is going to have a workshop tomorrow to announce some new regulations in terms of pest management.
Not tomorrow, next.
When?
May. But another speaker, you say?
Okay.
Oh.
No, the Commission is
the Commission, just tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Would that change your...
The draft is already circulated, is already known. Maybe tomorrow we can have some changing, but not dramatically changing about this. Agro-industry is very scared about to halve the use of pesticides because could be roughly to half the business of pesticides in Europe. So.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, I have a question, if may I?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Arturo and Emmanuel, for your presentation. It has been very, very useful. I'm very delighted to see that how this knowledge is going across technicians, academics, scientists. It's super interesting to see how the same knowledge can be understood in different manners, and usability also can be seen also in different ways. So my question goes, well, I have one question for Arturo and then another one for Emmanuel. So for Arturo first, I would say, because what's the most recent. Regarding to the decision for integrated pest management, we identified that we have three main layers. One is prevent, the second one is reduce, control, and the final one is to reduce. So do you think that this is going to maintain, or something else is missing considering the current climate change or the current COVID-19 issues that are happening? Is there something else that is needed in terms of key decision for integrated pest management?
I don't know. I have my opinion, but I wanted to check a number of experts in Italy what they think about this, because maybe someone could say, but why you focus on these three only aspects and not other? 25 experts is not so bad in Italy, but 250 should be better, I think.
Okay. So, but do you think that those decisions are okay, or we should have any additional decision to consider that you think that is missing in the integrated pest management world?
I think 3 are okay to start in analysis. What do you think about?
Okay, good to know. And then my second question for Emmanuel is about, of course, about climate change. We have noticed, well, with all this COVID-19, that climate change, it seems that isn't the, is not the major aspect nowadays. It's more about how to deal with coronavirus. So during you as an expert in climate, have you seen any change in agriculture, considering that the current lockdown that has stopped how the world is currently working? Therefore, the climate, I presume, has changed. So have you noticed any climate change? I mean, considering these lockdowns in the last 3 or 4 months?
Oh. Good question, because the lockdown is closed. They changed the transfer of the people and food, and is important. And then available many products in local. This is important, but I think that in next 6th, 8th time, I think that will be normal before.
I mean, probably it's too early to see any change, any effect, at least on climate change, or probably we will see in the next months if the situation does not go back to the normal, movement of goods and of people.
Maybe more industrialized area of Italy.
Can have much more.
Yeah, it's probably stronger evidence about this, like the plain of Milano City.
Okay. So now talking about the change in climate change, which is interesting.
After COVID-19.
Yeah, exactly. This is the change in climate change, which is interesting, of course. What about pests? Have you noticed any evolution in pests because this change of the world behavior? Is there any evidence of any change in that, or it maintains?
Yeah, there are even several papers works about this. In Italy, in South Italy, we were able to see the effect of tropicalization before climate experts talk about this, because several years ago started to come in Italy tropical pests, typical tropical pests that maybe in the past came in Italy, but the conditions were not so good to survive in our ecological system. Now the higher humidity and the higher temperature allow them to survive, and is harmful for crops. So absolutely there are evidence.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi Arturo. Hi Rina. Hi Emmanuel. How are you? I just have a question. It's very, very, very interesting about the pest management. And here in Valencia, we have a problem. You heard the other day about the phytosanitary products and the exceptional authorizations. Okay, how does it work in Italy? Because in Spain, it's very difficult to arrange it. Is the same in Italy, or it's better, or how do you do?
Oh, it's the same because for agriculture, the law, the regulation for agriculture is strong at the regional level, but for pesticide is a national level. Is not easy. It's not easy. Maybe we have the same problem. Maybe your farmers' organization are stronger than our organization because they are bigger. So I think that for some products it's easier to have extraordinary authorization in France, in Spain, than in Italy.
Yeah, but you know, Arturo, in Spain it depends on the Ministry of Agriculture, and this is a problem for us. We have only two products for persimmon. In this case, we have only two authorization, exceptional authorization. One for is an insecticide, and another is for the flies and something like that. But it's very difficult to get it. But is it the same in Italy? Okay.
We are waiting for the authorization, extraordinary authorization of 1,2. The chloropropene is a nematicide. We use for strawberries cultivation. And 1,2, the chloropropene was not allowed since 2009, but each year we are able to have an extraordinary use for strawberries.
Okay.
So maybe we are well organized. It's nice to understand.
For sure.
There is always something in the prohibition of some
yes.
You know,
yeah, we are always in the same
way. Even for it's very important that the flyer of olive, dimetoato was not allowed from this year, but maybe it will
it's 1 year
next year.
Yeah, in Italy. What about in Spain?
Well, Spain is, I don't know. Now I don't know because the coronavirus is everybody do what they can, and it's very difficult to manage with the public administration and to manage with the companies and to manage with everybody. But I hope in the next future, I think in 2 months maybe, we will start again normally. Or with a new normality. I don't know. I will tell you.
Well, yeah.
I will tell you. I don't know.
We'll see in 15 days if there is because from yesterday, everyone is free to go inside each region, not between regions. But there are a lot of teams that are going around without any.
Yeah, it's the same in Spain.
Separation. So we'll see in 15 days what will be good.
In Spain, the last week was the first week to go to the terrace and these kind of things, and the teenagers especially, it was incredible. It's a mess, everybody with everybody, maybe a few group of 20 persons.
Yeah, the same in Italy, yeah.
It's a problem, but okay.
And I have 2 teenagers in my family.
Okay. Be strong. Okay, and thank you and congratulations everybody with your presentation. It's a pleasure to meet you again.
See you the next time.
Yeah, see you.
Bye.
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 Nice.
Some other.
Any other question? No.
So have a good lunch.
Well, I think that if there is no more questions, Of course, I would like to thank you, everybody, for attending this. Thank you to Rina, Arturo, and Emmanuel. It's been a pleasure that you have contributed to this online workshop. We're in the Ecuador of the workshop. We still have 1 week and a half ahead. It's been very, very interesting, all of this. You're receiving emails, by the way, considering current information about the workshop, new sessions that are happening. Next week, we have 2 focus group panels. You are fully welcome to attend. If you have not registered, please register in the Google form. Therefore, you can receive the emails later on. So that's it from my side. So not sure.
Give us our time every time.
Thank you so much for coordinating this.
Thank you to all of you.
Okay.
Let's keep in touch. So thank you very much. And later on, we have 2 more sessions. By the way, don't forget, a few more sessions are coming in the afternoon. We have Alejandro from Argentina, and then we have Hervé Paneto from France.
Yeah, next one is 2.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Have a good lunch, if possible.
A lunch time.
Ciao, my friend.
Ciao.
Bye.
Okay, fai il meeting. No, fai il link.
Non lo so.
Lì.
Sergio, vado io o vai tu?
No, ma tu ci stacchiamo noi, dai.
Ciao a tutti e buon pranzo. Thank you all.